this question relates to wheatgrass and choosing. And this is a question I get very often, whether I support wheatgrass, choosing wheatgrass or other choices. And I'm always very cautious. I personally don't use wheatgrass or choose any choices. I use food as my source of nourishment and cleansing purification. Obviously there's an advantage sometimes when the body is very toxic to use juices to cleanse the body, but there is a limit as to how much you can accomplish when you use juices to cleanse the body. I typically ask people to think about cleansing the liver during the liver and gallbladder flush, to cleanse the liver bile ducts, to remove any impediments, stones, so that the body can detoxify itself on a regular and effective basis. And I also recommend that keeping the colon clean is one of the ways to keep the rest of the body clean. If the colon is congested and there are strictures or holdups, then the waste matter that is passing into the intestines will back up and will partly be reabsorbed, and it can go into the blood and into the lymph, and it can accumulate toxins elsewhere in the tissues of the organs and systems. So once again, keeping the organs of elimination clean and healthy, that includes the kidneys, of course, which help to get rid of excessive plasma of the blood. That also eliminates uric acid, urea, and other metabolic waste products that we should get rid of every single day. Otherwise they will start backing up, and once they are backing up, they can cause injuries to the body. Like uric acid that is not completely eliminated can pull around joints and can cause gout. It can also damage blood vessel walls, which then can become inflamed, and when they're inflamed, the body uses cholesterol to patch them up, and that helps to prevent blood clots from escaping into the blood. So the body is always very vigilant in this way to make sure that no heart attack or stroke can occur. But in effect, you're using wheatgrass and you're choosing can temporarily sort of undo the burden of toxins that may have accumulated in the body, but I personally prefer the route of making sure that the organs of eliminations are cleaned out. There's a kidney cleanse tea that I recommend in my book, The Amazing Liver and Gallbladder Flush, and that helps to break down uric acid crystals, stones of all kind in the kidneys. The liver flush gets rid of the stones that are in the bile ducts, sometimes hundreds and thousands of stones that impede the bile flow, and bile is the transportation substance that removes toxins from the liver, which takes these toxins or noxious substances out of the bloodstream. So the colon gets much of all of that, and it needs to get rid of waste that comes out via the bile, and of course the undigested foods, the fiber in the foods, all of that has to be removed. When you have wheatgrass, it does have a blood cleansing effect. It has an intestinal cleansing effect. It also helps to some extent with the kidneys. So if you do that for short term, I have no objection to that. But if you do it in the long term, there are side effects that you may develop from drinking a lot of it. And those side effects are related to the toxins that are in themselves contained in such things like wheatgrass. Wheatgrass is the first plant growth from the seeds wheat, and so wheatgrass at that stage when it is harvested for choosing contains a huge amount of antibodies, plant antibodies, and these antibodies are very toxic. And they need to be toxic because that's how the wheat is protecting itself against predators like insects eating up the wheatgrass. So in order to develop wheat, the wheatgrass wants to survive, which is a natural, natural drive of nature. But when you choose that and you ingest all those antibodies which are part of the wheatgrass's immune system, then eventually you may get a lot of irritation. Initially, the irritation is good for you because it will stimulate the intestines to get rid of waste matter. So it has a cleansing effect. And the body reacts to the antibodies by producing antibodies itself. It considers these plant antibodies to be antigens. So you don't, however, want to make the body too many antibodies, because when you do that, you can create inflammation. You have an inflammatory response. The immune system can get tired constantly having to defend itself against these high concentrations of plant antibodies or plant toxins. So that's when the situation can have a counter effect. And one has to sort of observe oneself when one doesn't feel good anymore by taking the wheatgrass. Or you simply go by the taste. Don't mask the taste. Don't put other things that are sweet in the wheatgrass, because then the taste buds will no longer be able to tell you when you have a saturation of those antibodies in your system. And typically when you just drink the wheatgrass juice, you will soon find, oh, I cannot drink that anymore. It's too much. It's bothering me. I don't like the taste anymore, because there can be bitter substances in the wheatgrass that your taste buds, that are with you're recognizing bitter taste. That means usually poisons. Poisons are bitter. That the body signals to the brain, hey, I don't want this anymore, and you definitely don't want to mix it with other sweet juices, therefore. So if you take it plain and see where it takes you, and be vigilant to make sure that you don't overdo it. And if you do it sometimes, there's no problem, but if it's every day, you may have a strong reaction in the body's immune system, which is not desirable. Now this applies to other juices as well. When you choose, you basically extract the cellular juice, your content, and you are leaving behind the other substances that are in the cell membranes of those plant foods. And when you do that, you're missing out on neutralizing agents. For example, you get a lot of vitamins that are free floating when you choose your foods. And there are natural antidotes to the toxins that are contained in vitamins. Vitamins are naturally toxic, so that's why they are called antioxidants. So they can destroy things. They can be very irritating, and they should not be allowed to enter the body in an isolated fashion. But they should be combined with the natural ingredients that keep the toxicity of vitamins at a minimum or very low. And they are contained in the whole food. So if you eat a fruit, like an apple, or a grape, or a banana, there are, obviously choosing banana is not as easy, but anything that has like high liquid content, vegetables, or once again wheatgrass. There are natural antidotes to the toxins contained in the grass. And if you don't want to eat the whole grass, it would be better than the choosing of the grass. But obviously that's not what we are. We are not meant to be grass eaters or cows. So it would be better to eat the foods that, instead of choosing the foods, to actually eat them. Another consideration is that when you drink juices, you are not secreting the appropriate or needed required amount of salivary enzymes that is very necessary in order to digest the carbohydrates, particularly the sugars that are contained in these juices. So by drinking the juices as if it were water, without moving it around, swishing it around in the mouth, you are not going to digest most of these sugars contained in the juice. That will require that your body is generating or allowing the proliferation of candida bacteria, which can lead to a proliferation of candida, which can then spread to other parts of the body. So it's good to be cautious about drinking too many juices, and if you do, make sure you swish it around many times before you swallow the juice. That is, basically the idea that I would want you, to convey to you with regard to drinking juices or juicing.